Good morning, Apex University. My name is Dan, I'll be your coach for today and I'm delighted to be back. So today I would like to talk about something that most experienced players have developed quite naturally, which is our ability to predict an enemy's skill level as well as what they might be good at. So we're going to look at the first fight here and we're going to try to determine the enemy's skill level. I spot a Pathfinder and he is crouched out in the open with no cover. He doesn't respond very quickly and I can determine instantly that he's probably not a very good player, which I'm sure you're able to see as well. This is very valuable in Battle Royale games because third partying is an important aspect of how the game is played and how you succeed. So being able to identify players that might be new or less experienced so that you can kill them very quickly will decrease the opportunities enemies have, or the teammates that this guy might have, to show up and try and punish us for starting this fight. Likewise, you also want to be able to determine which enemies are very good so that you can possibly outpressure their team or play a bit smarter and safer to respect the skill that they might have. It's very important that you learn to do this in a split second. You want to instantly know how good an enemy is the moment you start a fight. All the things I told you I saw the moment I spotted him and I instantly acted on them. So as I'm looting here, I end up hearing an enemy behind the wall. I don't like my position and I don't want to get punished for healing, nor do I know how many there are, so I instantly climb up the high ground to try and start this fight from a better position, also where I'm less isolated from my team. However, the Wraith is already on high ground herself, and right here notice that I'm approaching this fight differently than against the Pathfinder before. Let's go back and look at that. So the first thing I notice is that the Wraith comes from high ground. The second thing I notice is that she doesn't stop, turn around or panic when I shoot her, and she uses her void walk when she's in the gas and out in the open, and then takes the closest corner to the left to get inside. So far all signs of a good player, and that's why you see me, rather than chasing or continuing to shoot, taking more high ground and figuring out what she's doing first. As I see her going inside of the bunker and I'm chasing, I'm expecting, because she's a good player, that she won't be on the close corner and she won't be on the side rooms, because those are bad places to start this fight. Rather, I'm expecting her to either keep running to res or get her teammates, or to be on the staircase, or to be on the back side of these side rooms, because that's where they can control the engagement, can't be flanked, have me isolated from my teammates and know exactly where I'm coming from. Because I'm expecting her to do this, I pre-aimed the corner and you see me slowly looking through the glass. My prediction was spot on and that's why I didn't die. Had I just run out into the open here and focused on my aim like when I was fighting the Pathfinder, I would have surely been dead. I would have fallen for the bait. But I am expecting her to do this because this is a situation in which they can control the engage, and so this is where I expect a good player to take their fight. Alright, so let's start applying this knowledge to some actual gameplay. We hot drop in Skulltown here and I don't have a very good start. I get a little bit unlucky, so I take a lot of damage. I end up ducking inside of a house to heal with the cells that I just picked up, and I see that an enemy comes for me but doesn't commit and then decides to shoot my teammate while he's still in line of sight of where I'm healing. Because that's a poor decision in my eyes, he is sandwiching himself in between us while I control whether or when I peek, and he has done nothing like a grenade or a kick to my door to put me in a more difficult position. I decide that rather than finishing my heal, I'm going to peek out and help my teammate finish him off, because I don't think that this guy is good enough to 180 and shoot me in the head. And just like that, we finished the fight rather quickly. As soon as I peek this corner, I see an enemy. So I was already expecting people to push because we got shot at from that side, and I see that he has a teammate coming up, so I tried to bamboozle them, but sadly I did not anticipate the Octane flanking. I honestly thought they would all push together and I get punished for it, rightfully so. I really should have reset. If I had known they would have punished us like this. But luckily, even though I die, Joke stays alive, manages to get my banner later on, and we can loot up and still make it to the rest of the game. After we heal up and get back some loot, you can notice it's already top 3, and if you look at our blue armor, the fact we're both missing some health and the attachments you see on my guns right now, our setup wasn't great. So while we hear the last two teams fighting here and we only have a team of 2, I give myself a little bit of extra space if I can determine none of the enemies are very good to punish me, to go check one of these boxes and see if I can find myself a purple armor, maybe some better attachments. I might lose a kill or two here, but I just want the safety to make sure I can win this. And based on this spam and the way that this fight has gone as we approached, I don't anticipate this enemy is very good, and as I peek out, I'm right, they use no cover and they jump, making themselves very easy to hit. Based on how long this fight has gone on and how little accuracy I've seen from these players, as well as the fact that they are camping the treehouse and bridges, I don't expect them to be very good, so I simply play corners, isolating one at a time, knowing they'll either just hide there or drop down, which makes an easy engage for me and makes it difficult for me to get third party, since I cleared behind me. After that I end up looting and I take some damage from the last team, which I should have expected here, but I was not too worried. I use Mirage's ultimate to relocate up to the high ground, since I don't like the engage right here and I don't have enough information. And right here you can see me using the truck, but I don't know anything about this player yet, whether they're good or bad. If they are a good player, I expect them to be pushing the high ground because they want to control it and they don't want to be sandwiched between us or to reset back towards their team. If they are a bad player, I expect them to either attack my teammate in the treehouse or stay where they are. So as I turn the corner with an arc star, notice how I first pre-aim the high ground where I would expect a good player to push so that I can back off and sticky him or isolate him in case they are pushing with a good team, and once I see that he is far, I just decide to sandwich him with my teammate because there's not really a threat.
Wait, that was it? Huh?
As we're going into the next game, our team decides to drop artillery and I drop outside, but I didn't scout properly. At the last second one of the enemy teams broke off and went here. I didn't notice, so I opened this crate, but I don't actually loot it because it is a distraction. I try to get away because they outnumber me and as quickly as possible get to a safe place to loot. As soon as I have a weapon, I don't want to get pinned, so I exit via the left side as fast as I can, since I heard somebody on my right, and I expect that person I heard to be chasing me, so I run over the tank where he doesn't have a line of sight to shoot me. I didn't hear footsteps because of a bug in the current patch, but luckily he doesn't have a gun, so I take him down. And here I warn my teammates right before I go down, about 2-3 seconds before, because I know I can't win this fight with the lack of cover around me, as I had lost my armor, and because I am able to tell them in advance that I predict I'm going to need help, by the time I go down they're already almost there and we end up surviving just fine. After getting rest, I remember the caustic having a purple armor, so I decide to take that, but I don't have any heals, and this healing bot is in a terrible spot from where this last enemy is. You'll see him in a second, and normally I would not stay here because I don't have proper cover against him and any teammates he might possibly have. However, I can tell he is constantly re-peeking the same cover on the same side, being very predictable, and he is spamming up the high ground seemingly without responding to any of the fight that happened in front of him. Because of that, I assume he's not a very good player and I finish my heal because I doubt he's going to do any significant damage to me. Just like here, the Mozam at this range is not scary, I just strafe or stop my movement when I expect them to shoot and it doesn't really do anything, just like my EVA 8 at this distance does nothing. Now I don't have any ammo, so I'm just strafing here to try and stay alive. I know my teammates are 2v1ing, so all I have to do is juke around here. I just keep cover behind me, climb up real quick to see where he is, and wait for my teammates to show up. And now I see Joke has pushed up, he has finished his part of the fight and he is fighting, so I'm coming to punch. That's all I can do. I miss both of them because I'm a noob, but we get him, and just like that we won the fight. Moving on to the next part of our game, I'm chatting with Joke here and just having fun, so I'm not really paying attention, and that's why I have some bad pathing here. I'm not paying attention to the open bunker, nor the left side. I haven't really scouted, and I'm down on low ground with no cover, just kind of running around. It's not ideal, which is why I stop here to scout, and I spot an enemy team right on time, one of them pushing towards this building. Now my plan is to punish him when he's out in the open because he is not aware of me, they weren't looking around themselves, and he seems to be running out into the river. However, as soon as I try to crouch to shoot him, sadly I end up blocking my own line of sight with the bush in front of me, so I don't get to finish my play. So I have a teammate behind me. The Caustic had pathing and awareness, and he is playing Caustic, so I don't expect him to be a good player. Because of that, I want to quickly punish him and push him before he sets up in the building. But while trying to do so, I take too much damage and have to skip that part of the fight. Now luckily I can kind of ignore him in this building because my teammate is there, and as I get pushed I use the 4-second rule to quickly get off a battery before noticing there is not one but 2 enemies pushing me, so I decide to use my Mirage ultimate to relocate. Now while I got pushed here, look at how I'm scouting on the right side towards the enemy that I expect to be the slightly better player than the Caustic, and using the 4-second rule to determine how much I can peek so that I'm actually ready for when he pushes me, as well as when I get shot by the longbow. Notice how in the last second that I know I'm going to be slow, I jump to make it hard for him to headshot me. It's important to remember never to jump more than once, especially against snipers, because it makes you very easy to hit, and in general sliding or crouching is much better. And if you're not using something that slows you, you want to land your jumps into a slide to make yourself even harder to predict and to hit. As I move my way into the building to heal here, I see that I'm in a great position with my random teammate to sandwich the opponent on my left that I can hear. However, as I try to do so, the teammate ends up being engaged with somebody else, so I go back inside and use the door to heal once more. Now if you remember from the 4-second rule video, when kicking a door where somebody is using a battery, there's almost no time left to deal extra damage, and the battery is gonna override any damage you deal to my armor. So seeing how this Wraith approaches me, I understand that she is not the best player, and I'm absolutely willing to finish the battery and take that fight. Had she used a better angle, a grenade, or shot through the window, I would have anticipated a better opponent, and I would have gone outside of the building to reset the fight and take a better angle. As we finish up the fight, I move my way outside to help my team clean up, and even though I'm not full healed, I'm so far away here I don't have to strafe and I can just help deal some damage, because once the fight is over I can heal on the way anyway. And as I'm moving closer here, I'm a bit far away, but that incendiary gives me some great cover visually. So I decide to use that moment rather than wasting my time healing. I first get into a better flanking position where I have some cover and high ground. And because I don't know how many enemies there are here, I initiate with my grenades, making it impossible for them to isolate me or push me. Once again, due to how long this fight took without anybody actually going down, and the fact that this team appears to be stacked behind a single truck with all of them, I expected them not to be very good. They also didn't respond to me on the left very far away. That's why I went for a flank to get quick kills rather than stick near my team and take a full fight. Now I see an ultimate coming from above, so I know this is another team because it's a Bangalore ultimate and I just killed a Bangalore. I'll let it play out for a second and then explain what went through my head.
Right, coming to you now. Alright, I guess that. It's pretty epic. Yeah.
So after finishing the Bangalore from the first team, because the other team is coming from high ground, initiating with an ultimate and starting with a third party, I expect them to be pretty good, and I am ready to drop back down the moment I climb up. I'm basically just climbing up for scouting. However, as soon as I get up there, I notice that their position is bad, they don't respond to me at all, and they're all stacked onto a single tree. So I decide to punish their lack of awareness and try to contest this high ground that they're on, as I do by downing the first enemies and instantly pushing forward to try and control the angle of this high ground. Now the Wraith was already making her way up there, so we end up in a little fight here, but she only has common armor and I hadn't taken much damage, so it's a pretty easy cleanup from there. And then after killing the Wraith, a Pathfinder shows up, but even though I was looting, he didn't take the time to go for headshots, and he initiated while he was out in the open and my teammates were still there to back me up, so he was not a terribly good player. Because of that, I decided to just shoot him back and kill him with the help of my teammates rather than running away first. There's only one enemy team left, and so we start hunting them and just running around the map out of boredom. We're all 3 alive, so we may as well. But do notice how every time I get in front of my team here, I wait for a second for them to catch up, because if you're being aggressive in the end game and you don't have any information about the enemy team, sticking together is very important to make sure you don't engage on a man advantage. And right here, notice how, because I don't know where the enemies are, as I'm running around, I'm sticking close to cover, I'm sticking close to high ground. I make sure that before I scout around, I am behind cover, so that whenever I get shot at, I have some cover near me to work with. Now right here I have a tree to hide behind, but the enemies are way too far away for me to get some useful damage in with my R301 with a 1x, so instead I just decide to scout for information and once again wait for my teammates to catch up so we can engage. Now because of their position, the fact that during the scouting I only see enemies on there and they don't really seem to be looking at the sides where we might flank them, as well as the fact that they shot from really far away without really being able to do any meaningful damage, I don't think they are particularly good, and as I push up I see they're barely strafing and they're pretty slow to respond to my attack. I get some good damage here, so I try to initiate with my ultimate, however I get cucked by the roof, it throws me off, and then once again right here, so that doesn't go as how I planned. But let's go back for a second and talk about how predicting the enemies was useful in this situation. Remember what I said about me noticing them not really paying attention to the sides of the building? That's a lack of awareness that makes me believe that they don't have an escape plan and their plan is just to sit up there until one of us pushes and they can focus fire that person. Because of that, I want to split up from my team, get some different angles, and knowing that when one of us is being pressured, the others have free damage to deal. So as I push up to the building, you will notice that when I believe I am being pressured, I will back off for my team to deal damage, and I'll just waste their time by using cover properly, and when my teammates are being pressured, that's when I will go on the flank and deal damage myself. Right here I see them turn around and shoot at me, and so right now my focus is not to aim but just to predict them and heal and waste their time while Joke is doing damage. Because I've predicted that they're unlikely to leave this high ground unless they actually put you on about 10 health, I can do this as often as I want until they mess up and I actually kill them. So this is why knowing what they're going to do just makes it so much easier to find ways to play or win fights. Right here I notice that their attention shifts to my teammate, and so I push up and deal free damage when they're not ready to deal with me. And just like that, you can see that not all of my predictions were perfectly accurate, but they were easily close enough to the enemy's skill level or what they might do based on their team dynamic that I was able to outpressure the people that I had to and punish people that were making big mistakes. I really hope that was helpful. Peace.